Once a year, the best riders and drivers come from all over the world to compete in Score Racing's Baja 500. This year, the race would start and finish in the town of Ensenada, Mexico. Ensenada has been hosting Score Racing events throughout the years, and the people of Ensenada are the biggest fans of Score's desert racing. For this year's 50th anniversary race, they made sure to come out and support the race with tens of thousands of race fans attending the Contingency Row pre-race events. The 700 class, known as the Ironman bike class, is not only the most difficult class to run, it's highly respected amongst the racers for anyone attempting to race it. There is no protection from the elements, animals, rocks, or cactus, but more importantly, no protection from other vehicles also racing to the finish. This year, the bike class would start at 3:30 a.m. and would have an estimated 24 hours to complete. What drives people to want to race in the Baja? For Tomer Tal, the Baja 500 is a bucket list item of sorts. This was more than just a race. Tomer was out to prove to himself that he could race one of the world's toughest off-road races.
My 50th birthday, I took my boy down to Cabo, and we rode. We're riding the sand down there, and the guy's like, "Oh, you're really good, you should do this." And then I found out when I came up here, this has nothing to do with any of the riding in Cabo, nothing to do with anything I saw in Dust to Glory, and it's a 540-mile nightmare. That's the story, but the real story is, the real reason I'm doing this, I asked her to marry me, and she said she doesn't marry pussies. So I had to go do this. I'm from Northern California, Bay Area, San Francisco, 50-year-old attorney. Never, ever raced a desert race in my life. And here I am, I guess, in the 50th anniversary of the Baja 500, roughest one ever, according to Bruce Anderson, who's done 70 of them. And completely in over my head.
You know, when we started pre-running, I didn't want to tell Tomer that this was by far, by a high percentage, the toughest Baja race that I, for the 500, I have ever pre-run on. And I didn't want to scare him, and I wanted him to just see for himself and experience for himself. So it wasn't like throwing a lab rat to a rattlesnake, but it pretty much was. I mean, he had to fight through some of the toughest rock sections, silt beds, sand washes, 4-foot deep trophy truck whoops, and tomorrow in the desert it's going to be 100 degrees to throw that in as a wild card. So he's got his work cut out for him. All I could do, he's a tough guy, and all I could do was just tell him, hey, we're going to cut this up like a piece of pie and we're going to tackle it together. And of course I'll be sitting in a chase truck, so that's not very hard on my part, but we got him here, and I have a lot of confidence he's going to finish.
The 2018 race is a loop race, which means the racers would be starting and finishing in Ensenada, covering approximately 540 miles across the Baja Peninsula. But only a handful of riders are brave enough to run the Ironman class on a dirt bike. One mistake, and your race could be over.
I like to hammer it 100% of the time, and so I knew I only had a few months to train. The downside is I was training so hard, I actually went to Thailand to go ride. I rode my ass off every day, and I trained in the gym at night, and I came back with Legionnaire's disease, pneumonia, collapsed lungs, and mononucleosis. I couldn't even get on the bike until, what, 2 days before I come down here. I didn't have the strength to even get on a bike. And so this week's been a challenge.
Pro Cycle Tech would have a fleet of bikes prepped and ready for Tomer. Several bikes for pre-running the course were built for Tomer, and of course the race day bike, prepared by Javier Gonzalez.
We built this bike for Go Baja riding for this client, Tomer Tal, and well, it's a stock motor. We rebuilt the motor completely, and it's got all Honda components, which is really reliable, and suspension was done by Precision Concepts. Made it really nice and flush for this guy. For an Ironman bike, we would want to have it a little bit softer, a little bit more mellow. You don't want really high horsepower bike. If you have a bike that's really barky or strong, the guy's going to tend to hold on a little harder and get tired quicker. So we make it really smooth and easy on the suspension, so he can last the whole for this race is 5:42, and so he needs to be able to finish this whole race. So we make it nice and soft for him and not too strong motor.
I want to show my kids that, you can do anything you set your mind to, and, listen, unless there's some catastrophic breakdown, I'm not quitting. I'm going to see this thing through, whatever it takes.
At 2 a.m., the team was preparing the bike and Tomer for the 540-mile race ahead of them.
This morning.
Ready to get this thing started. Alrighty, well, it seems to be time to get it done. Yep.
The Ironman class would be one of the last groups to leave the line before the 800 horsepower trophy trucks are released at 10 a.m.
Okay, you have already?
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
Hello, buddy. Am I last Ironman then?
Huh?
Am I the last Ironman?
I don't know. Roger told me you will be the last motorcycle.
The last? No, I'm an Ironman.
I don't know that. You need to check that with the sport.
I gotta check it. He's not on my list. Okay,
Yeah.
you're
He
ready.
just checked with 3 other people up there. Bruce!
Moments before the race, the officials informed Tomer he was not registered correctly. However, the situation was easily resolved with a simple signature.
Well, here we go. 2018 Baja 500, 3:30 in the morning. We'll see what happens, huh? Looked like a tough course, but I think he's going to have a lot of fun. Should be about 5 more minutes.
Take care. 79NX Tomer Tal here at Tomer. Again, Ironman, long race. Did you do anything special to prepare for this one?
Well, this is the first time I've ever desert raced or raced in Baja, so it's all special.
It's on me.
It's on me.
Did you get some time to do some homework and get your pre-running in?
Yeah, we had a great kids group. We did pre-run. Everything's taken care of. Now just have to be safe. You know what I mean? Keep it together, keep it on 2 wheels, and get to the finish.
Good luck. Hopefully see you back here this afternoon. Everything's going to be perfect for you. No problems. We wish you the best.
Thank you so much.
Take care.
Riding a dirt bike across the Mexican terrain is hard enough. Throw in race conditions and temperature changes from 50 degrees in the morning to highs topping out at about 100 degrees across the Borrego Desert. Even with an estimated 6-hour gap between them, the Ironman class could expect the trucks to catch them around the 250 to 300 race mile markers. Once that happens, it's just a matter of time before more classes begin to catch and pass. The first 65 miles of the race would be in the dark, and with little nighttime riding experience, the opening stage would put Tomer to the test. The first stage took the racers through the town of Ensenada, over the coastal mountains, to the town of Ojos Negros. Visibility near zero, as the coastal fog combined with the dust made the first stage extremely treacherous, even with GPS. Racing the Ironman class means Tomer will race the entire 540 miles alone. There is no switching of riders like the other bike classes. Pit 1 RM35 was to get a quick once-over on the bike, and most importantly, to assess Tomer's physical and mental status. After 35 miles of riding, the adrenaline is pumping, so getting his heart rate down and calming the race nerves as not to burn all his energy in the first few stages is important for the long race ahead. Stage 2 would continue through the high mountain range, into the blinding sunrise, through sandy washes, and meeting back up at the team, waiting at Pit 2 along Highway 3 at RM 72. Just after Pit 1, Tomer would get fuel from Baja Pits for the next stage of the race. The next stage from Pit 2 to Pit 3 in Val de Trinidad would really begin to test Tomer as the race course turns into sandy trails, rock washes, and finishes shortly after the famous Goat Trail at RM 105. Baja Pits would once again refuel the Honda 450X bike for Tomer and send him on his way quickly.
Hey, good morning from Trackside. Go Baja Riding 799X. Tomer Tal coming in. We're looking for a real good run today. He's being consistent and following along with what we want him to do, drinking lots of water, staying hydrated. So we should see him here in about 30 minutes, and we're real excited to whip him like a dog and keep him going.
At Pit 3, Tomer was ahead of schedule, even after a minor crash in the sand laying the bike down, and his spirit was up.
Sí. Está ready.
A long speed zone along Highway 3 to Mike's Sky Ranch would give Tomer a chance to relax his hands and just focus on not speeding for the next stage. Once back into the desert, the whoops would begin to deepen, the sand washes would become longer, and temperatures would begin to become a factor as well. Each checkpoint would have a time limit as to the latest a rider can come through and still have enough time to complete the entire race. Pit 4 at RM 171, just before checkpoint 1, would be a routine stop checking to make sure heat exhaustion was not setting in and Tomer was hydrating while riding. If the score officials deem it not possible for a rider to complete the race, they are considered timed out and stopped and not allowed to continue any further on the course. The next segment would be in the heat of the day, with temperatures over 100 degrees already, as they make their way across the Borrego Desert to Pit 5 at RM 220.
Bien. Suave. Agua, trae agua. Water. Todo bien.
Just before Pit 5, Tomer was caught by the 800 horsepower trophy trucks, running speeds close to 140 miles per hour, making what is already dangerous to extremely dangerous.
Hit that slow button. What day was it? Sunday or Monday? I don't know. The shit out of me then.
From Pit 5 to Pit 6, the San Felipe whoops were 4 feet deep and continuous for the next 60-plus miles, back to Mike's Sky Ranch and Checkpoint 2. The score officials would make an announcement. The remaining bikes and quads would be rerouted to a highway section to avoid any collisions with the other faster race classes around RM 235. Pit 6 at RM 260 would be the last time we would see Tomer, as he would head back across the peninsula, where the second chase truck would meet him at RM 370, Pit 7, and Checkpoint 3. The rest of the crew would make their way back to Ensenada, where we hope to see him at the finish line, at an estimated completion time somewhere between 2 and 3 a.m., 24 hours after his start. The race tracking was the only insight to how the race was going after several hours of Tomer showing 5-mile-per-hour movement. What took hours to complete 270 miles was now 4 hours into a 60-mile segment. Tomer would finally make Checkpoint 3, RM 370, in Vicente Guerrero, but was not allowed to continue as he had timed out. He had physically walked the bike the final mile to the checkpoint, unable to ride due to extreme dehydration.
I felt pretty good when I left the line, but what shocked me, I've never ridden at night, and all these guys are just blowing by me in the dust. I'm like, how the hell do they see? And then these quad guys were just like, Mwah! And I was like, And so I don't know how much time I lost in the first section until light started coming up, but then I started, you know, making up some time and whatnot. Once I could see, I was like, okay, I'm good, you know. The funny thing is, up to mile 170, you know, that was a really good section for me. And even the loop up to 250, everybody said, oh, that's a killer. I can handle that. I can handle the pounding. That didn't bother me, you know what I mean? I was fine, you know. So that was all good. I made up time. I was making up time like, oh, I might actually, you know, be able to do this. Well, I think I made a tactical error, or wearing the jacket. Even though it was unzipped, I had the chest protector on. And so I just wasn't getting any cooling. And because it was so technical and so hot, I was using so much energy. I ran out of water. I started throwing up. Literally, honestly, I think every 10 to 15 feet, I'd either drop the bike or stall the bike on some technical section. And then things just kind of kept deteriorating. You know, it's like a vicious cycle. Things just kept deteriorating from that point. And at some point, I think it was mile 3, 4, a little before the Baja, no, maybe plus or minus 300, I satellite Bruce and told him, guys, I'm just having problems. What do you want me to do? You know what I mean? And got to mile 343, the Baja pit. Say hi. Smile for the camera. And supposedly I was supposed to wait there. The crew was supposed to come get me. I'm like, screw this. You know, I thought they told me it was like 15 more miles from there. They lied. And I said, you know what? I'm in this race. I'm going to make it to the next. When I got to the Baja pit at 343, they called the guys. They said, no matter what, your guy's not going to be able to make it past that. He's, you know, mathematically he's houred out. But I wanted to at least make it to the check, and that was a lot. What was supposed to be, I thought 15 miles, ended up being another like almost 30 miles. And it was getting dark, and it was lots of silt, big rocks. And you know, the problem is everybody's like, oh, cheering. I don't know if they're telling me to go this way, that way, just distracting me. And all I wanted to know is, where's the road? But nobody speaks English. What I really hoped was if I could just make it a little past that, up to the road, up to the coast road, then I knew, you know, I'd be able to fly on that, cool down, make up some time. But I houred out, I couldn't do it. And in retrospect, even if I had done that, the last maybe 40, 50 miles of the race are super technical again. Just the rocks, the climbs, this and that. And I'm not so sure I would have made it that part anyway. But it was a first race. Never raced desert before. I made it 370 miles. And I gotta just take what I can take from that.